So,
All right, let's get rolling.
alrighty. So we are in our last week of Senior Star training. So this is pretty exciting because by the time we finish today, then you will have all the tools that you need in order to hit Senior Star. So we are going over the mentor section today in Vital 180, and we're going to be talking about really the importance of duplication, mentoring, accountability, and training your team members. So looking at the first topic that we had in Vital 180.
I want to start by saying something really quickly to Sheena while you're pulling that up,
Yep.
because we'll be talking about the subject of mentoring and why that's so important.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first video is accountability, working with a mentor. So you can go ahead and get started with any thoughts you have on that.
Okay. So when Scott was talking about this, he gave the example, right, of going to the gym at 4:45 in the morning and how it's a whole lot harder to motivate yourself to get up and go to the gym when no one else knows your goals but you, because you can kind of rationalize and say, well, I'll get it tomorrow, or I don't feel like doing it today, so I'll push that goal further down the pipeline. But one of the things he talked about in working with a mentor and why it's so important is because you need that accountability for those days. It's like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything young women related. Your accountability mentor is going to be like, okay, I hear you, but remember you said you wanted A, B, and C. So maybe you wanted to have more money on your check this month, or you wanted to get more oils paid for, you wanted to be able to come home and spend time with your family, whatever your goal was. Your accountability partner is there to, a mentor is there to remind you that this is what you said you wanted. So I'm not your boss, and I'm not telling you what to do, but I am going to try to push you because that's what you said you wanted. And so I think that's something that's so interesting to remember. I remember when we went to convention last year, one of the classes I took actually talked about that, and it was talking about how sometimes we get in this, even as mentors, we get into this boss mentality. Well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do, and it exhausts people. And so we have to remember that they're not our employees. They have their own business. And so we do want to keep it professional in the way that we deal with them, but we're there to hold them accountable for what they said that they wanted. So having and working with a mentor is so important, because I know even myself, I have trouble holding accountability to myself. Dana has tried to be my accountability partner, and most couples in YL will tell you that just doesn't work when you're trying to be your spouse's accountability partner. So you have to look for one that's going to resonate, because another aspect that they talked about was you have to have some type of relationships and rapport, and trust was the other thing. So if you don't trust the person who's mentoring you, if you don't have any type of rapport or strong relationship with that person, it's just not going to hold. So that's important as well. So try to remember that whether you're being mentored and looking for a mentor, look for those things. Look for your upline members who you trust and have a rapport with, or if you're mentoring others on your team, and say you don't have the strongest relationship, develop that relationship so that when it's time to hold them accountable, they're more apt to take it with a grain of salt.
I'll add to that too while we have the floor, because I'll just say too, one of the biggest things that mindset, talking about accountability, no matter what your personality is, you should always have the mentality, I want to keep growing and get better. If you ever get to the point in your craft where you think that like you're good and you don't need to learn more, then you are going to fall very, very far behind, because technology is always changing, industries are always changing. You should always, always, always be learning and striving to learn more. So there is somebody that knows more than you. So if you do not have a mentor, essentially you're saying, I know everything. I don't need to learn anymore. I don't need to grow anymore. I don't need to get more advice from other people. Even Royal Crown Diamonds, you know, pay to have coaches and mentors and things like that. So they are at the highest, you know, epitome of this business, yet they still realize that they need people to be accountable to. So it's so important that we have a mentor. And then the second part of that I wanted to say is your mentor does not have to be maybe the person that enrolled you, or maybe your upline, or maybe you can find mentors all over the place. And I think that's important to keep in mind too, because you might look upline and you might be like, you know what, like, I don't vibe with this personality, or like, I don't like the way they built or grew or whatnot. So it has to be something that like Scott was saying, that you respect this person, you trust this person. And when they tell you to do something, you're going to listen. Like, if you know that, you know, that person that's mentoring you, you could kind of run over them personality wise. Well, that might not be the strongest mentor for you, you know? So again, it has to be somebody that's going to, you love and respect, but it's going to check you and be like, hey, like, this is what it is.
Hey, Andrea, we're still in the first video about accountability and mentor. I don't know if you had anything you want to share, thoughts from that video.
I just came up the stairs. I can't really talk yet.
Okay, got you. All right. So just reiterating, I know that, like, if you listen to a lot of videos from some of the other individuals, you know, they'll say Jim Rohn was my first mentor, or, you know, I had my inspiration in cassette tapes or whatever. So like Dana was saying, our team is fairly unique and different from some teams in that we have a lot of people that live in other states from other people. There's some other teams that maybe, you know, like there's some other individuals that we know that are on the Vital 180 team, and they live in the same town as Scott and Brenda. So they have a whole different way, like they can physically have mentoring from them. So if you have to hodgepodge your accountability for a little bit, but again, keep looking. There's a lot of, when I first started out, there's a lot of people that were diamonds that I resonated with, that I would just watch all of their videos over and over and over. And I would get some information about a certain topic, like care calls, and then I would go and I would watch YouTube videos over and over and over again. But you do need the accountability, again, making sure there's someone somewhere in the universe, whether it's a cross-line person that you meet near you, or, you know, upline, or someone even further upline, or just whomever that you are checking in with, so that you know that you are being consistent with your goals.
Can I say something now? I got my voice back.
Sure.
About that, I literally just got home and came up the stairs, and my oxygen has to come up, or you'll hear my voice a little scratchy. But I found that really, and I'm not sure if I'm blending all the videos together in my brain, so forgive me if I do that. But I found that point really essential, because I know when I'm thinking about myself, you can plan to do something, but you're not going to follow through unless there's a reason. And sometimes it's easier to just find excuses, even though it's maybe not your deliberate goal, but it's just your everyday life, what happens. But when you know that you have someone that's going to be checking in with you and saying, hey, you know, but finding that right person too, like when you're looking at the whole color thing, if you're a specific color, maybe finding the opposite color is good, but at the same time, you got to make sure that it's a good fit. But you can't find somebody that you know is not going to be checking up on you. So you don't want somebody that's going to be, yeah, I'll do it, and they never follow up. Then that relationship isn't benefiting you. So you need to find a mentor who matches your needs rather than maybe what you would like. Does that make any sense?
Yes, definitely.
I'll actually add to Andrea, because I'll say this too, like, okay, so my personality, I'm pretty equally yellow green. I do not have very much red in me. I not good with like saying, hey, do this, do that. So I know that I've had times with some on my team where it's like, you know, I have these great ideas because from a logical standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. And I come to them with like, hey, we should do A, B, C, D. And then we get there and they're like, oh, I want to do it like this. And I think this looks good and blah, 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 blah. And they might go a completely different direction. But see, the yellow in me is like, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, you know, you do you. Like, but that's not going to be beneficial as an accountability partner. So again, you have to know the personality. If you're like, you know what, sometimes I can lose focus. I might need someone that's a little bit more strong personality to tell me like, no, get it back together. So I think that's so important too when we're talking about finding a mentor. But then vice versa, you might be one that it's like, okay, when I get barked orders all the time, then I shut down and I don't want to do anything. So that might not be the right mentor either. So again, you have to kind of find what's going to be right for you and your personality.
I think that, you know, we have the tools to start those discussions. If you don't know how to start those discussions, if you go back to some of the vital conversation worksheets or vital tips worksheets that we have, you know, just pull those out and sit down with whomever you think will be best able to assist you and go through that.
Good point. Very good point. Because I think a lot of people, I know myself pretty well, so I know what I need. I need like a little mix of Tashina and Monica. If I could rub the two of you up together, I'd have the perfect mentor. Not exactly sure how I can find or work that out, but
yeah.
I think a lot of people don't really know themselves.
Yep.
So I think I think that's where I know that the color thing is all about knowing who you're going to be working with and what they need. I think that might be a good place where it comes in for yourself. Because people who don't know themselves maybe need to say, okay, this is what I do. What do I need? Like help them start that analysis.
Right. So then the next portion, audio, I believe, was talking about mentoring people to get to the level where you are.
Okay, so this section is actually very, very interesting. Remember we were talking about the book Making the First Circle Work. Has anyone had an opportunity to read that book before, or have they started that?
I have not, because it's not in audiobook form.
Okay.
Maybe
I recommend that you read it.
Maybe at the end of May I'll be able to do it. It's just life has been way too hectic.
And the only reason I say that, I mean, it's not a long book at all. But it actually, the chapter that I'm on actually touches exactly on this. When you have a new person that gets started, like, and you mentor them to duplicate what you've done so far, like, keep in mind that sometimes when you come in to Young Living Fresh, your ignorance on fire. So, you know, at the time you're excited. You don't really know what you're doing, but, you know, you may have some success just by being you, and that's great, but that may not necessarily work for another person. And so one of the things that it was talking about when you mentor somebody to that point, so let's say that you are a star. So you've been in for a month or so, and you've reached the level of star. You can now mentor somebody to star, but would not necessarily be in the position to mentor someone to senior star. So one of the suggestions was to go up your upline, go up the pipeline, so to speak, to find a mentor that is at the rank within your company that you would like to be. So, you know, like I use Tashina as an example because Tashina is a silver, Julie is a silver. So they could potentially be our upline mentors. But once Dana and I hit silver, we need to stretch beyond that. So now we're looking for the gold upline, the platinum upline, the diamond upline. And so it's so important to, number one, find an upline that resonates with you, a mentor that resonates with you, but also to make sure that you're finding ones that so that you can duplicate their success. That's the main thing. Like, this business is all based off of duplication. And so if you don't have duplication, at the end of the day, you're a self-employed, you have a job. And I know me personally, I already have a full-time job. I do not want a second job. My goal is to be able to leverage Dana and I's time and our team members as much as possible. So you need to find a mentor and duplicate their efforts so that you can reach where they're at. And it doesn't, I use the example of STAR because sometimes it's about starting small and gradually building. So if you haven't hit STAR, find somebody who's a STAR and ask them what they did to get there. If you're reaching for silver, find somebody who's silver, ask them what they did to get there. But it's so important that you talk to individuals who are at the rank that you want to be, so that you can avoid certain landmines along the way.
I will just real quick add to that when we talk about duplication, and Anthony kind of mentioned it, again, we have to separate our mentality because most of us were raised in a mentality of self-employment or employee. So then we get in this rut of just selling kits or just selling oils, but we're not duplicating anything, and then we get stuck. So we get stuck at a rank or we get stuck at a place because we haven't shown people how to go out and do it themselves as well. And if at the end of the day, all you're doing is selling things and you just have a job, then let's say you get sick or let's say something happens, then you don't have a business that you're leveraging yourself that can bring in residual income. Whereas what we're trying to build is to help empower other people so that we can build that residual income. So something happens to me, I'm still making money. I always, I don't know, because I love Stevie Baggs. So like he had a whole thing where he talked about what's the best type of cheese is Swiss cheese, sells while I sleep soundly, right? So at the end of the day, we're duplicating because we've done that effort one time and it keeps snowballing and having that effect over and over and over and changing so many other people's lives. So we have to think bigger than our own little section, and we want to see how we can duplicate with others.
Yeah, and so, I mean, very briefly, just to finish that off, if you're not duplicating, your business is either going to grow at a very slow rate and you're going to get frustrated, or you're just not going to be able to grow as big as you'd like. So it's so important that we train and mentor new people, especially, so that they don't develop bad habits that we later have to correct down the road. So it's very, very important we mentor new and workers.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so remember what we're duplicating is that 80-20, right? So we're duplicating that sharing is normal and it's what everyone does, and educating ourselves is normal. That's what we're duplicating. And so yes, people are going to have different personalities and do things differently, but you just have to find where your lane is. What if one-on-ones is the best way for you to share, then your mentor is going to help you with tools that will get you to do one-on-ones. If classes is the best way, if vendor events is the best way, we're duplicating sharing in those actions. So we're not imitating a particular person or personality, but we're duplicating the successful actions. Andrea or Julie, you guys want to share anything?
I think that that's not different than what we've already heard, but I like the way that they emphasized it and focused it this time with this video. And I can look back now and see the one person I thought was going to take off in the business. I didn't have the tools at that time to try to encourage him to take off. But now I've got a little bit of tools, so I started working them, and he's in the middle of doing something else. He goes, let me see if this works first. I'm like, darn it. I feel like I missed my window there. But definitely everything that we hear from all of the people who have made it, especially the ones that skyrocketed. Yeah, they did parties. Yeah, they did this. Yeah, they did that. But they made sure that everybody that they talked to, this was put there. You know, they encouraged the concept from the beginning. And this weekend I had just gone to Empower, and during the panel discussion, they were saying how many people tell them that their now rock star downline was a member for a year or two and had no idea that this could be done as a business until like they asked. And so that, I thought, that's such a waste of time. Why not put it out there to them? So it was very encouraging to me to put it out there, let them make the decision. You know, they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it, but at least make sure they have the information. Otherwise, you're never going to duplicate.
I think I can do it. Hello?
Go ahead, Julie.
I was listening to a call the other day, and the girl was talking about KISS, keeping it simple, sweetie. Meaning, we don't need all kinds of things when we share. We really don't. All you need is 4 or 5 of the oils, thank you, from the kit, and share. And there's plenty of people who have done it that simply and built, you know, empires literally out of just sharing that simply. So if we make it all complicated or, you know, harder than it needs to be, that's what the people are going to follow, you know. So if we come in, and there are times when I've used the things on the TV, you know, the PowerPoints, and, you know, there are places for that. If you've got a huge class and you got to try to keep their attention, then that's the thing to do. But other than that, really, it just takes sharing the oils and keeping it as simple as possible, because then anybody at that party can say, I can do that. And so that's what you want to do. And this was a gold leader talking, and she got there very quickly, so she must have done something right. And so keep it simple, sweetie. My nose now. Sorry.
All right, anything else on duplicating down in the team?
I'm sorry, can I add something else?
Sure.
I don't want to toot, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I want to say just one little thing that shows that I'm taking this information and actually doing it. My latest member who got her kid, I think 2 months ago or something, I started encouraging her to use her oils. And from me encouraging, unfortunately, we do one class, we interpret together. So I see her, well, she's seen me pull my oils out and use them during the class. And I've pulled them out when she didn't have her oils with her and she needed them. So she's used them. She's now carrying her oils with her. She is using them in front of other people. And when she was telling me she was going home for the weekend, I said, bring your oils with you and share them with your family while you're there. And she says, okay, I'm going to do that. So got her moving in the right direction. So she doesn't know it, but she's going to be a distributor. I haven't told her yet, so.
Yep, and that's exactly what duplication is, right? Just make it natural for them to share. Like, you know, I shared in the group, I went to Mexico and I have my bag where you can see the oils on the outside, so that's a conversation starter. As soon as I landed and I went to the hotel, that person asked me about it, so I friended him on Facebook, sent him some videos already, and then when I was at dinner later that day, the person's like, what smells so good over here? So he got a flyer, and then I went to the same restaurant at the next hotel a couple of times. So when the girl saw me the second time, she was like, I was wondering what that was there. And then she told me she's into herbology and stuff. So, I mean, that's how we want it to be. Like, people are so afraid of the business because they don't want to sell, but we're just going around sharing naturally. And when you're using your oils all the time, you don't even have to do anything. People smell you, so you share naturally. You just answer the questions, and that's what we want to get other people to duplicate. Alrighty, so then,
Christina, you're a great role model.
Thank you. All right, the next one was supporting our team and hosting their own essential oils classes. Anthony or Dana, you guys have a lot of people that actually do their own classes.
Yes. And so this is very important from the standpoint of, once again, we talk about leverage. And here's the trap that we fall into very, very often is we teach way too many classes for downline members. And there's nothing wrong with, teaching a class, but remember, we're talking about mentoring. So we want to help people to develop skills as they progress in their business, if this is something that they want to do. And so one of the things that's necessary to progress is you have to be able to teach your own classes. Now, what that looks like for different individuals is up to them. Maybe they like are like Dana and they need a script to read from, or maybe they like doing PowerPoint presentations, or maybe, like Julie said, they like to keep it really simple. They pass 4 or 5 oils and then they pass out order forms like Shannon does and says, put all your information on it. But regardless of what that is, I know one of the things that Shannon Hudson has always talked about is you get 3 classes. One class I come and teach for you. The next class we teach together. And then the third class, you teach with me supporting in the background, and then you're flying on your own. And in that way, you now have duplication of your efforts. Because think about it, when you have, let's say you have your own class that you're teaching on a day of the week, and you have a team member or 2 who's teaching their own classes in a separate location. Now you've duplicated your efforts 3 times. So it's very important to train people on how to host a class. How do they invite to a class? How do they promote for a class? And how do they, what do they actually say to individuals at the class? You want to teach them that because it's going to do it's going to take your business very far by helping people to pretty much manage their own classes on their own.
Julie, anything you want to share?
I just wanted to add to Anthony's thing about all those aspects of the class, but the closing is really important too. So teaching them how to close, or how to, wrap the sale up, if you will, however you want to call it, has to be a strong one, because otherwise you're going to lose them. And if they go out the door, it just dropped 50%, but they're going to get back to you. So a lot of people do. They have to go home and think about it, and they'll come back. But you really want to have a good close and wrap that sale up at that party if you can.
I just really, really quickly want to add to what Julie was saying, because she's right. Once a person leaves your class, if they haven't made a decision before they leave, then your chances of enrolling them does drop 50%. So depending on whatever excuse they give you, I know there was a training that Dana and I did a while ago. It just means that we didn't close properly. And or maybe we need to address a need that they have, because when you think about not only how much value that comes in the kit, but the price that it's priced at. I mean, people go out, they buy, brand new cell phones or laptops. They go buy an Apple Watch or whatever that costs 3 to 4 times as much. So if a person walks out and they're like, I got to think about whether I really want to spend this $160, then that just means we haven't done a good enough job at helping them to see the value, and we haven't done a good enough job at closing. And so if that's something that we run into often, ask your upline mentor, how do I go about closing better? Because like Julie mentioned, once they leave the class, your chances of enrolling them drops 50%. So some of the good things to do are, have a flip kit at the class so that they can take it home. They can fill out their paperwork and you can punch it in later. That way they can get started right away, and you'll have a little bit more success.
Yeah, and then just reiterating the 3 classes that we're helping them with, that is in the class planning guide. And going back to the duplication, there's no need for anyone to fill whatever level they are. They don't have what they need. All you have to do really is just walk them through the STAR training in Vital 180, and that will give you everything that you need in order for them to have a successful class, know how to follow up, and have all the tools that they need. All right, then the next section was empowering your leaders. So anyone want to share what they got out of that video?
I did mine so early. I did them earlier in the week because I didn't want to run out of time. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. If somebody can get started, I'm sure I'll have a comment, but I can't think what it said right now.
Okay. It was reiterating again, and I know, like, as we talk about this, these are things that we've talked about before, but we just do more of the same. Every level that we hit, we just do more of the same, and we do it with a larger group of people. So I remember very distinctly, it stood out in this video when Brenda said, if I have a team member that's calling me and asking me, how do I use lemon oil? I'm doing something wrong. That is not an empowered team member. They must not have the app. They must not have a desk reference guide. They haven't tried to look at the Young Living blog. They haven't used any tools. That's what we need to train our team members to do, to be empowered. We are wellness advocates. We are not trying to help them alleviate certain hardships in their life. We are wellness advocates, and we want to give them the tools that they need. And so it goes back to how we mentioned in one of these calls, as much as possible, answer a question with a tool. So even when we're training about closing, if you have a favorite YouTube video that helps you learn how to close, in addition to you being there and doing it with them, give them that YouTube video, because then they can watch it 10 times and continue to practice when you're not there. So that was one of the main things that I got out of that video. Make sure we're truly empowering our team. We're not spoon feeding them like they're babies, but we're giving them the tools that they need to get the education and to be able to share even when we're not there.
Now I remember. Thank you. That was, I thought, an amazing, very simple but amazing at the same time, because she just said it so clearly and distinctly. And when you quoted what she said, it was like, oh God, right, because we have to stop and look at what we're doing. And I see my mistakes that I made in the past. And with the girl that I'm working with now, she's savvy enough to have said to me, I don't know enough about X. She's not even thinking about sharing yet. And then having that come together at the same time as hearing Brenda say that this week, it was my aha moment. Okay, Andrea, you have not done your job, because you're hoping she's going to do this, reach this goal that you think she can, but you're not doing what you should have been doing. So we're actually making an appointment to sit down and so I can do a little education, but I'm going to add all those other little pieces in there too. But I do need something that I can review, because I think my weakest point is the closing. I think I can handle all the other things but that closing, and I need something that I can replay all the time so that I become more comfortable with it coming out naturally without sounding salesy. And I'd like to share that with her.
I'll post in the group chat Hannah Cruz video. I think it's really, she's blue primarily, so she has a lot of enthusiasm, and I really like her clothes. It sounds very natural, and she includes part of her story in it. So that's one that I like a lot. So I'll show that in the group chat.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Julie, you have tons of duplicated, empowered members in all other states. You want to share tips or how you're able to do that?
I don't know exactly how I do it. I just do what I do. So, the girl that's taking off right now down in Carolina, and she's doing fabulous. She's a very self-motivated person. She's much like you, Tashina. She gets her eyes focused on something and she runs with it. So there are some people like that. There's other people who, like myself, who I really needed help to know what I was doing. And it really wasn't there, but I went out on the internet and I found a lot of people to help me there. We didn't have the same things that we have today. to help us. You know, Game Plan, Sarah, all these diamonds and stuff that are out there on the internet teaching us how to do it. So what do? I don't know. There is just one thing that I know as I sign up anybody. This kind of goes back to the last topic you had. I always send those, I don't know what they call them on 180. I use Oil Revolution Design, those tidbits about the oils. And before, I always send them an email welcoming in and all this kind of stuff. And then if they are interested or say anything at all about the business, I give like a rundown of what I do. I send a welcome letter. I send those tidbits. I make sure they have them all. You know, I don't know. I send them different books, different things that just would help them motivate. They have to be motivated themselves, though. I don't have the time and I don't have the want to like drag them along. I sound mean, and I don't mean to. Just like what you were saying before, Tina, you just have to give them the tools that they need to grow themselves. They have to want it. I am here. I will answer my phone almost any time. Unless I'm in service, I am available to talk to anybody most of the time, and willing to try to help them find the answer if they can't find the answer. Tell them maybe how I did something, but otherwise it's really on the individual. And there's so many books and so many helpful things out there, tools now that we can get closings from Sarah Harnish. There's, you know, you can hear, just go to YouTube and how to close a sale, and you'll come up with a million of them. It might not be Young Living, although there are some there too. There's just so much, but we have to put the energy out to get the answers. Too. I mean, you're there, you're a good leader. Dana, you and Anthony are great leaders, and these up and coming ones, you know, I can see that they're going to be, you know, good leaders because you guys are teaching them. But it's still all about their own motivation, where they want to take it and how much they want to learn and how fast they want to do it. You know? I don't know. I know that's not very helpful.
No, you mentioned the tidbits, the text message tidbits. You mentioned making sure that you do mailers. So again, we're still just talking about and putting it out there for people that are listening to the replay. These are the tools. That's how you empower people. Give them as much information and tools as possible so that they have something back to refer back to when you're not there, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because if you spoon feed them, you're going to be spoon feeding them right from the get-go all the way to the end. For everything, they're going to, I have one person, it's kind of like that, you know, that everything they will call me for, and it's like, did you look in the guide? Did you look on Vital 180? Did you look in the resources, you know, where I know these answers are? Did you look in your VO? Did you? And I feel like a broken record sometimes, but I want them to take it out upon themselves with my help to find those answers. Otherwise, I don't even know what you call those. It just becomes your job to do their job, and I don't want to do that. I want them to be self-done and,
right.
and take their business where they want to take it. You know,
right?
But, yeah, that's all.
All right. So the next tool was talking about the vital questions. And so this is a tool that we can use as we're mentoring and the individuals are having their class and maybe we're not there for their classes, as reminders of what needs to happen after those classes. So asking them, had they followed up with new enrollees? Is there a setup follow-up call or appointment afterwards? Are there, if your team happens to do some type of email or text message or however it's done, they are receiving that, how to use the oils, making sure that they're plugged into Vital 180, making sure that they've signed into Vital 180, our Facebook page, any other additional Facebook pages that would be helpful. Does the new person know how to place an order? Do they know about Essential Rewards? Do they know about PV Assistance for Essential Rewards? They have a welcome email, letter, or a welcome booklet, which you can get a welcome booklet from Vital 180. Do they know what an iTovi scan is? And do they know when they can get their next one? Do they have essential oil reference? Do they have the app? Do they know about Oily Tools and what it can be used for? If they've already expressed an interest in the business, do they know what tax spot is it? Do they know how to follow up with retail customers? And did they know that there's a notes section in the download viewer to keep track of your communications to your team members? So those are just some things that we, as a new person, the first time sharing, we want to make sure that they have all that information and they know that these are the things that we need to do for follow-up.
I'll just really quickly add, Tashina. All of these questions are really, really good, but I feel like the main ones that even if you're a person that is like not detail oriented and you're not going to go through all 16, you really should. But if you do not, number one, have you followed up with all your new enrollees? And I'm going to tell you why this is so important, because in the business of network marketing, you're constantly fighting attrition, right? So that's people falling off before you can get growth throughout your business. So everyone knows that the lifeblood of our business and sustainable residual income is making sure that people are on essential rewards, right? Everyone knows that. So that's another one. Do they know about essential rewards? I think making sure that they open their kit and they start to use it is just as important too. So what I've done and Dana has done in the past is we will usually set up I don't want to call it coaching session, because at that moment we're not necessarily coaching them on the business, but it is essentially a coaching session. Like, let's get together again. Did you get your kit? You got your kit? Okay, great. Let's sit down. I want to go through. I want to show you, how to log into your back office. I want to show you how to replace certain products in your box. I want to tell you about essential rewards. If they have questions about the business, I can go over the comp plan. But it's so important to do this just because, that a person who's educated on all that's available within Young Living, they're going to stick around. And especially if they're using their products and they have all the tools that they need, they're definitely going to stick around. They're going to tell others, and you're going to have a customer for life. But a person who is uneducated, they're going to get their kit and it's going to sit somewhere in their house for 4 to 5 years, and somebody else is going to try and sign them up later, only to find out they already have a kit. So we definitely want to make sure that we're doing these questions, but schedule this like within the first 7 days of them getting their kit while they're still excited about it, and just go through it. And, you could even bring it with you and mark off as you go over each thing with that individual. So, this kind of really resonated with me just because, it helps you organize all the things that you need to go through with a new enrollee. And so that's why I say try not to skip any, but at the very least do those important ones. Make sure that they know about essential rewards. Even PV assistance is great for essential rewards. If they don't want to go through and pick out their order every single month, help them sign up for PV assistance. And if they haven't signed up for ER, that's when usually Dana and I will help them enroll for ER.
That's a perfect opportunity too. And that is another thing I do. I always call the people and walk them through the website. But that, if you are not one, I may have said this last week, if you're not one that feels comfortable talking about ER, while they're signing up and spending $160, then don't. But that next appointment that you have with them when you're walking through, either by phone or in front of them in person, and you're walking through the website, it's the perfect opportunity, and it just works its way in without feeling like you're doing anything sly, because it's one of the links. And you just walk down each one of the links on the left-hand side of the page and say, okay, now the difference between essential rewards and quick order, let's explain that. You take them into the resources and you say, there's a couple documents here that I really would love you to read. We don't have time right now, but I want you to understand the difference between essential rewards versus quick order, whatever. You explain it to them, but then it's not feeling, there's nothing to feel like you're taking more money from them after just buying a kit away. You're just explaining the benefits of ER versus quick order, and it's just a nice way to do it. And I love those phone calls. Those are some of the best phone calls. I want to go back for 1 second, if I can, to those tidbits that I send, because I don't just I send those, they're 14 days of graphics, but in there, there's a graphic about the app, the phone apps. There's a couple other graphics that I found that I've also entered into those. But once you get them, and I don't send them every day. I send them I send them Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And so they're not inundated with them. But when I'm done with those 14 days, I go right into God Oil's Now What. I never let them off the hook. I am still sending people graphics from a year ago, sign up. I go on to another class and another class and another class to keep them educated without me having to be there educating them. You know, and for a while, Sarah Harnish has some of those, and they're out there somewhere where you can get the 50 PV, 100 PV, 190, whatever, graphics to show you what you can get for that amount of money. I'll send those sometimes, you know, it's just, but once they're in the loop, unless they say, get me off the loop, and that doesn't happen that often. It's a rarity, in fact. They are getting that. So it's just a way to keep them, you know, especially those who aren't on Facebook. A way to keep in front of them, keep them educated, and then do those care calls to some of them, you know, during the courses of the months. And it's just a way to keep your ER and your OGV up. That's all. Sorry.
Oilabilityteam.com is where you can get those Sarah Harnish graphics. All right, and then benefits of the mentor dashboard. So I don't have anyone that's signed up directly under me, I don't think. But you can go into your mentor dashboard and see who has signed up and who's actually doing it. So these are people that I know that have signed up, but they haven't really done that much. So that was just the last video that was talking about when you have someone sign up directly underneath you as your mentor, you can also see their progress. You know, if this person has gone through all the executive training, yet you know that their PV is at 200 PV, well, that'll tell you something, right? That'll tell you that maybe you need to sit down with them and see what they need to actually get some classes in there, because they're probably just running through it and they're not reading the stuff, they're not applying it. So how can you help them? So looking at the mentor dashboard, once you get your people plugged into Vital 180 is key as well.
I'm going to try to do that right now. Oops. I think that must be it.
All right, that's actually the last one. So any other questions, comments, or concerns about any of today's training?
I just, because I'm not on here, so who did I put in as my mentor, or did they not have that when I started?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't have it.
All that hard work I'm doing, don't nobody get to see that?
I guess we'll have to figure it out. I'm not sure if the mentor dashboards, because we all started at the same time. Every single one of us started at the same time when it came out. I don't know if the mentor dashboard was released later. So, sure. All right, Nikki or Andrea, any comments on anything else that we've talked about today?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Tashina, I'm on here. I'm trying to find it. Where is that? Is it under dashboard? Hello?
It is under account.
Oh,
If you go to account and then go to mentor training report.
I got it.
Mentor report.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me see who's in here. Yeah, I don't have any of you guys.
I do know, like when I looked at ours, it shows me only the more recent ones, like whoever has been active more recently. And then it says under all members that you mentor, it gives you pretty much a good majority of your team, but that's anybody who signed up for Vital 180. So as long as they've signed up for an account, they will show up under all members who you mentor. but only if they've done training recently, like your last few signups. I think it's only 10 or 15 that show up, but those are the only ones that appear to be popping up for us, and it just gives you their progression rate.
Mm-hmm. It shows you training started, yes. Training started, no. Let's see. It's got details. I don't want to look up. I feel bad, like I'm spying on him or something. Let me see what she's done here. She finished that one. Let's see. All right.
But I mean, something like this though is nice to have, because it does allow you to see who's kind of firing off. You know, like if you give them a task like, hey, sign up for Vital 180 and complete the distributor or STAR training, I mean, it does allow you to track that.
Right.
So sometimes even before you call that individual, it saves you and saves them the embarrassment of you being like, hey, did you complete the STAR training yet? Because you already know whether they have or not. So if they haven't, you know, that gives you an opportunity that says, hey, I know we're supposed to get back together today to talk about the STAR training, but I noticed that it hadn't been completed yet. Do we need to reschedule, or what's going on? You know, and kind of assist them. That's the accountability aspect kicking back in. So I mean, it is a nice tool to have, so you can just kind of track. I mean, it's the same thing that we do with Oily Tools, right? It allows us to track what's going on with our team and our OGB, so that we can better assist them. So it's just a tool that to utilize if necessary.
And I will just add to real quick while we're wrapping up is, you know, this is a tool that needs to be used, but it's important too that people understand, like in any business, you're going to have some type of training. You have to learn, you know, steps and things to follow. Like I wouldn't want my nurse to have not gone to school and had some type of training. So she had to do some type of studying. She had to sit down and maybe go through some books and things like that. So in the same way, when we're talking about our businesses, if we're taking it seriously as a business, it's important for us to sit down, go through this training, go through the modules, and really implement the stuff, because that's what we're going to, again, duplicate to those on our team, because we're going to encourage them. You said you want to be a leader. You said you want to make money and you want to like do this thing. You need, like, let's make sure you're on Vital 180. Make sure you're getting the training, because there's a lot of stuff that can save us time, because I don't need to sit up here and answer those questions, because if you've done the STAR training, I know you already know how to do, you know, A, B, and C, or you've gone through some of those things. So it's just as important that we're encouraging our people to also make sure they're going through the training and encouraging their members to go through the training.
All righty. Everybody excited for convention?
Yay!
Yeah. Just a reminder, they released the classes on Friday, right?
Yeah.
The Friday. So if you haven't had an opportunity, I mean, most of them filled up pretty quickly, but sometimes you might get fortunate. So if you haven't signed up for classes, remember to sign up for classes. Dana and I are doing the 5K.
We're gonna run the 5K. I've never ran a 5K.
Year, so we're excited about that. And some of the classes they have this year are actually really, really exciting. Some are new, some are ones we've taken before. So I encourage you, if you I can't remember who it was, but even if you haven't received a convention ticket or purchased a convention ticket, a lot of people are trying to transfer tickets. So,
but I believe the deadline is the end of this month, right? So if you're going to transfer and get a ticket, and even if you don't have the funds or know how you're going to fly out there, drive out there, or where to stay, just make sure that you have at least purchased your ticket, had that transferred in your name, and then you can work out the rest of that. And then we can even help you set up a plan to get you there.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I got to go back in there and look at it, because I kept doing stuff and they'd be like, this class is full, and I just got frustrated, and I don't even know what I have or what I don't have at this point in time.
It is a little buggy. We got it after a few tries, but their website is a little buggy, so just be patient with it.
Yeah,
it's well worth it to make sure your classes are booked, so you don't have to stand in that long line, the standby line, just to try to get into the classes, especially GoPro.
The other thing I got to figure out, I don't know, Julie, have you been on any silver stuff? Like, I don't understand, like, is there, like, I saw something that said, like, a silver, gold, platinum, like, dinner. Like, I don't understand how, usually there was a gala. I don't understand how any of that's working right now. It just seems a little bit different.
I haven't gotten any emails. As far as silver, Sherry Ross always had her own that we, would go to. But
Yeah.
I don't think I've gotten anything on that this year.
Yeah, I haven't got anything on any of that stuff, so.
And as far as the other stuff, you mean like the awards dinner, or are you talking about just specifically for the ranks?
I mean, they did have like luncheons when you hit a new rank, but it seemed like they were doing some joint thing, and I don't know if that was only for new ranks together or what it was for.
I haven't seen it. I don't know. If you see it, send it to me.
All right, I'll try to figure it out. I'll go in there because, like I said, I didn't really, but yeah, I would just reiterate, convention is the most important part of training if your circumstances and health allows, and just get the ticket and keep working your business, hit executive so you can get there, because it will improve your belief in the company and the products by 100, and it will be so much easier and more natural for you to share. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
What
All right,
about,
thank you guys for doing this.
Joining us.
I looked on the schedule, the Excel schedule,
Uh-huh.
and it showed stuff for executive on the schedule, but I don't see anything training for executive in Vital 180.